Boy, I can guarantee you this was not the sequel that I was envisioning when we decided to watch this. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
And I'm Michelle.
This is our post-Shriek Out reaction for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. We're still in the middle of sequels week in case you're wondering why we're picking such a weird film to watch. But we already watched Friday the 13th Part 2 earlier this week, so we kind of have to watch Nightmare on Elm Street. The two kind of go hand in hand. And yeah, the first film, I'll admit, I wasn't that scared of it, but I always thought the concept was great in that film. I mean, this guy who was murdering children, all the parents come together and kill him in secret, and now his ghost is haunting their children in their dreams, the one place where the parents can't protect them. That is a great, creepy idea for a movie. The sequel is about a guy who moves into Nancy's house from the previous film. Mm-hmm. And it's been 5 years, just like with Friday the 13th Part 2, which that's a weird coincidence, but it's been 5 years, and in that time, she ended up going crazy and killing herself, which, spoiler for the third film, but that didn't quite happen. Yeah, it's almost like they didn't plan all this shit out. So this guy moves into Nancy's house, and now he's suddenly having dreams about Freddy Krueger, but Freddy isn't trying to kill him. Freddy is trying to use his body to come into our world, which is not even like he's possessing him.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning it kind of is, like because he keeps like putting on Freddy's glove. But as the movie goes along, he just magically transforms into Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Like, it's like, I don't know how that works, because in like the first movie, it's established that like Nancy tries to bring him into the real world to like destroy him for real by grabbing him in her dreams.
I always thought that was kind of a weird thing. Like that never really made sense.
Yeah, but it's like
I never really questioned it in those ones.
Yeah, but like they didn't do that in the sequel at all. So
in the sequel, it's almost like Freddy just has completely different rules, which I'll give the movie this. At least they didn't come back in here and go, well, let's just do that thing that we did in the first film. They tried to do something different. Mm-hmm. But man, I do not think it works at all. Like, this really almost feels like a fan film. It really does. It feels kind of like, hey, we all love Freddy Krueger. Let's get together and let's just make a fan film all about him. But, you know, we can't really use, like, the dream world or anything like that because we don't have the budget for that. And, you know, we can't really do the creative kills or anything like that. But let's try and think of what we can do. Also, we can only get somebody in Freddy makeup for maybe a day on the set. Maybe. So, yeah, let's think of what we can do with that.
Although, like, that being said, Freddy didn't really appear a lot that much in the first one.
Oh,
compared
really?
to, like, this one.
You watched the first one just this morning.
Yeah, I needed, like, a refresher.
Yeah, it's been years since I saw the first one, so... Really? He wasn't in it that much?
Like, yeah, it was, like, he was usually, like, hiding in the shadows or stuff like that, so...
Okay, but, I mean, like, you still felt his presence?
Oh, absolutely, like... That's a big difference between, like, the sequel and, like, the first one. Like, the first one, he was, like, more of a threat. Like, in this one, he feels like more of a joke. Like...
I mean, like, when you say Freddy is a joke, you...
No, I mean, like, he's more silly. He's more comedic in the sequel.
Well, that's what I was about to say. It almost feels like Freddy Krueger is known for his sense of humor. That's a big part of his
but it's like, he didn't really have much of a sense of humor in the first one.
Really? Man, nostalgia is kicking in for me on the first one. I'm glad you went back and rewatched it, because otherwise I was gonna be here like, well, in the first movie.
You know, like, that's what I meant. Like, he was, like... Yeah, he was, like, very, like, you know, hiding, and but, like, he wouldn't, like, crack too many jokes or anything. He would mostly just do his laughing.
I didn't feel like he did any jokes in this one. Aside from maybe the I've got the brain, you've got the body thing. Like, that's the closest I think.
Yeah, but it's, like, once again, he's mostly just, like, out there in the open being silly and goofy and, like, trying to, like, scare kids.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You mean when he's in this film, he's in this film. Like, you actually see him and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you're trying to say. Okay, well, yeah, because in the first one he's a mystery. You can't really, hide him for the film where we've already seen what he is. But, yeah, Peach agrees. But, yeah, I just find it so weird because it really does feel like just a bunch of people who wanted to, like, celebrate Freddy Krueger without being able to use Freddy Krueger, or, like, any of the stuff they, like, any big sets or anything. Like, it almost feels like they were like, hey, we got access to this, like, broke-down boiler area where we can go and sneak in and record a little bit. But that's the biggest set that we're going to be able to do. That's the most creative thing that we're going to be able to do. That being said, the moment that this kid actually transforms into Freddy Krueger, it is actually pretty impressive. It's a really darn good practical effect.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of practical effects in here that are very good.
I was actually pretty impressed whenever they would actually do them. It was just kind of rare. But it's still just such a weird thing to me that Freddy, at this point, he had like a very established, like, this is what Freddy does. And then in the second film, they just came in here and said, well, let's just have him do something completely different. And again, I applaud them for, not just wanting to rehash the first film, but typically just making a completely different movie is the kind of thing that you do like way down the line. Like when everybody's getting tired of this stuff. So it is kind of bold, but I don't really think that paid off because Freddy had something original to him in the first film. And again, you watched this way more recently than me, so you can tell me if I'm being wrong about this. But yeah, like the whole killing you in your dreams thing, it's such a more original thing. Here, it's just more of like a typical slasher film, I feel. Like, because it is just a guy running around with claws on his hands in the real world. It's just that something in his dreams is making him do it. So it kind of feels like way less special to me. Also, this film, it does feel more silly, but not on purpose. Like, all the later films were kind of silly, but it's because Freddy was cracking jokes. All the ways that Freddy would kill someone would be with a pun. Like, he would kill people with a Nintendo game. In this one, it doesn't have that tone to it at all. It doesn't have, like, that playful tone to it. But there's many times that feels like it was trying to be cool to me. Like, trying to be, like, hip and with the kids.
Like, I think maybe, like, this was, like, the starting point of Freddy being more, like, silly and, like, actually, like, trying to, like, do puns to kill people off.
Oh, no, he, like, again, you saw this more recently than I did, so you can totally tell me if I'm wrong, but I would say that when he stretches his arms out really wide, like, cartoonishly, in the first one, I think that was the thing that got people going, oh, shoot, what kind of stuff can this guy do? And, yeah, he did just kind of have, like, this gesture-ish, like, mentality to him, like, that was the thing that really kind of defined him and made him different. Whereas in this one, I didn't get any, like, jokey sense from him. I didn't get that at all from him. I got, like, just typical slasher. That's exactly how he felt to me, especially, like, towards the end when he finally comes into the real world and he is just running around after people there, like, in reality. Yeah, he was just kind of like, oh, I'm gonna get you, just stabbing people, like, left and right. And I was like, yeah, man, he's not cracking any jokes during this sequence.
But he's, like, trying to be silly. It's kind of like, kind of thing.
Okay, all right, I guess there's that. So there is some of that in there. But yeah, it's just compared to, I guess, like, the later films.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, maybe it's just nostalgia kicking in for me. I do think that he was a little bit more jokey in the first film. But again, you saw it way more recently than I did.
Yeah, he did, like, have a little bit more of a humor side to him, but it was like, it didn't, like, pop out very much.
All right, fair enough.
Because, once again, like, he's mostly, like, hidden in stuff, so I think that would explain why.
Okay, well, yeah, they had to tease him throughout the film, But again, I think that's one of the reasons that it was also creepier in the first film. In this film, I don't know, I didn't find anything really about this creepy at all. Maybe it's just because, like, the premise in the first one is, hey man, don't go to sleep or something could happen to you. In this one, it's, that guy better not go to sleep or something might happen to him. It's like, well, I'm not that guy. Thank God I don't live in that house. Like, that kind of a thing. Like, it kind of takes away some of the relatability of the film when they make it specifically to, no, it's only this one guy being affected. And yeah, he'll go around and murder some other people, but, I don't know that guy. It's only the people close to him. So, which there are horror films out there that do stuff like that, where it's like, wrong person, wrong place, like, you're being hunted because you happen to know the killer. But yeah, this one just didn't really give me any kind of an impact to it. But another thing about this film, one of the reasons why I think it's kind of silly, is because, as I said, I haven't watched all the Nightmare on Elm Street films, but there is a documentary out there called Never Sleep Again. And it is all about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And man, it is one of my favorite documentaries about a movie. It's 4 hours long, so it is a big sit-through. Like, you gotta clear up the entire day to watch this thing. But if you ever get a chance to watch it and you got an entire afternoon to blow, go ahead and do it. I really dug this documentary. But it got to the point in which they were interviewing the, I think it was the star of the second film. And he actually said this. He said, little did we know when we were making this movie, we were making the most homoerotic horror film of all time. And I was like, wait, what? And then the day after I saw that film, I went into work and I went up to a friend of mine who was a big horror fan. And this friend of mine happened to be gay. And I told him, oh yeah, you're into Nightmare on Elm Street, man. This documentary, I just saw it last night, it's incredible. And they talk about every single one of the films. And he goes, did they talk about the second film? I said, yeah. And he goes, did they talk about how it's the gayest horror film of all time? And like, I didn't like bring this up at all. Like, he just instantly, that was his only question about this documentary. And I was like, yeah, they said that exact thing. And this was my first time actually watching this movie. And I was watching, it's like, I don't see what everyone's talking about. And then like 5 minutes into this, he gets into a fist fight with someone else and they're ripping each other's pants off as they're in this fight. And I was like, I see it now. And yeah, as the movie goes along, like Freddy's all about like how I want your body, Jesse. I want your body. I was like, okay, I can kind of see what they're talking about in this. But then like when he gets possessed and it's like, oh, now he's bad, Jesse. First thing he does is he goes to a leather bar. And I was like, he did, right? I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does that. There's a whole sequence in which he is like dancing to a song. I can't remember what the song was.
And it turns out like his gym teacher was there too.
Not at his house when he's dancing.
No, not that, but like when he was at the leather bar.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes.
I don't remember that. Okay.
Yeah, like apparently, like he was, like he needed to like, he was tired and like he needed to like get out of the house and everything. He needed a drink and he happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time because, he's still in high school. He's not old enough to drink or do any of that stuff.
Yeah, they didn't card him or anything.
No.
But his gym teacher was there, and then later on, when he does his first kill as Freddy, he takes his gym teacher into the showers and rips all his clothes off and kills him by towel whipping him to death on the ass. And I was just like, okay, this movie, the people making it, they had a vision in mind. Good for them. But yeah, there's also like a dance sequence like before he gets possessed by Freddy, and he's just dancing, and he's got like some popper toy, and he is using it as his dick. Like he's just putting it there, and then he's got like there on his dick, and then he like pulls it and makes it. Yeah, man, this is definitely, the documentary was right. My friend was right.
Oh, and then you get to the part where they sleep together.
Oh, yeah. There is, man, again, this movie is not trying to hide it at all, because there is a moment in here in which he is with his girlfriend, and he's like, no, it's too dangerous for me to be here. I have to be somewhere safe. Where does he go? To his male friend's house, and he's like, I have to sleep here with you. That's the only way that I can be safe. And I was like, yeah, dude, we all know what this movie's about. Not that I'm judging the film or anything. I'm just saying, it's like, this film didn't even try and hide it. Like, it's just so interesting to me that it's like these people made this film, and then after the movie came out, it's kind of like whenever you hear the stories about the people who made the Phantom Menace, about how they're like, yeah, we thought we were making something great, and then we saw the movie in theaters, and we were like, oh, no. But yeah, I was watching that documentary, and the actor who played Jesse just said, like, yeah, I didn't know it was going to be like that until I actually saw the thing. And yeah, that just cracks me up. Just the idea of him just sitting there is like, oh, like him doing like a Usual Suspects turn around, like remember everything, drop the coffee mug, like, oh yeah, it was like that, wasn't it? Again, not like judging the film or anything. I'm just coming here and saying, like, it just kind of cracks me up that like these people had no idea that's what the film was going to turn out to be like. Also, it just always cracks me up whenever I think back to my friend, is like that was the first question that he had about this movie. So yeah, that is honestly kind of another reason why I think the film is kind of a little bit silly. That it's like, oh, okay, it's a Nightmare on Elm Street movie where we go to a leather bar. Also a Nightmare on Elm Street movie where in order to murder someone, you have to S&M them to death. Yeah, it's just so weird that it's like, yeah, okay, I see what you're doing here with this film. I get this. But yeah, aside from that, I'm trying to think of like anything in the movie that I really enjoyed, because there's nothing in the movie that I really dislike. I will say that. I have to kind of like raise questions about the film simply because it's like, yeah, man, it's weird that you decide to go this direction with like, instead of like returning to the dream world, which is, to me, just feels like an open landscape for total experimentation and just being completely original and coming up with whatever you want. You decide to scrap all that stuff and just kind of turn it into just regular plain ass slasher film. Because that's what this is to me. It's not Freddy Krueger. It's guy with Freddy Krueger's glove going around murdering people.
Just like a guy dressed up as Freddy Krueger.
Kind of, basically, yeah. Except that he only kills one person until like the last 20 minutes of the movie, and then he just goes on a rampage, just murdering like random people all over the place. But I think that's another reason why this movie just doesn't feel like a Nightmare on Elm Street film to me, or even like a regular slasher film, because regular slasher films, you need a body count in these kind of things. And yeah, it's like, okay, 40 minutes into the movie, like halfway into the movie is when you get your first kill. And then it's just kind of like watching this guy not want to go to sleep, and that's kind of it. Yeah, it's a really basic-ass slasher film. I think that's another reason why I say this feels almost like a fan film, because it was like, all right, we don't even have a big cast we can use. So we can't go around just killing everybody. Like, we have 4 main characters. We have Jesse, his girlfriend, their gym coach, and Jesse's friend. We can't exactly, like, go on a killing spree here, because then we'll be out of a cast real soon.
Until the very end, when there's a giant pool party, and just all the extras just die left and right.
Which is kind of awesome. That's actually kind of an awesome sequence in this movie. Yeah, it's a weird film. But I don't think it's a bad film.
No, it just feels different from the regular
it's
Nightmare on Elm
one of those
Street.
movies. I say this about a lot of horror films. I've come to realize, like, this is my go-to thing. Like, this is kind of what I said about Poltergeist. This is what I said about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I don't think it's a bad film. It's a fascinating film. It's a film where if you sit down and you look at it in a different way, you can diagnose a lot about this. Like, you can dissect a lot about this film. Like I said, I kind of actually get some weird enjoyment out of this film looking at it as a fan film, almost. Like, if you could somehow make, like, a master edit of this thing, get it down to, like, 20 minutes, like, just cutting and editing it down, because I really think that there is a large chunk of this film that you don't need in this. Like I said, it's a slasher movie where you don't get your first kill until 40 minutes in, then it's another 30 minutes until your next kill. Like, yeah, it just kind of feels like there's just a lot of empty space in this thing. But yeah, I think you could do something really creative with this premise. Just maybe not an entire feature-length film. It would be, to me, it would kind of be like if you made a Jaws film, and rather than them even being at the ocean, it's people on land, like far away from the ocean, just talking about, I found this journal about this shark one time. And then you just start, like, when you're walking through the park, you just hear the bon, and it's like, the fuck is any of this? How is this working out? Like, it'd be kind of like if someone decided to make a Jaws fan film just about someone learning about Jaws. Like, not really even encountering Jaws, but just learning the history of Jaws. It's almost, oh man, I'm going to go down a weird tangent here. It's almost like a Lovecraftian film. It kind of is, because a lot of Lovecraft stuff was all about not experiencing the big terrible thing, but reading about and studying about the big horrible thing, and then you encounter it like once towards the end of the story. Like, that's kind of what a lot of Lovecraft stuff was, and man, yeah, this is kind of like if Lovecraft made a Nightmare on Elm Street story. Like, yeah, you can't actually see the monster, but you know it's there. You know it's out there. You're slowly learning bits and pieces of the story about this monster. Ooh, and then at the end, oh man, it's all there. And it not only is there, it comes out by ripping your own body to pieces, and you slowly, like, scream as you're mutilated and morphed into it. It's like, yeah, man, this really is. Wow. I went on a journey in this review. Whoo, man. Okay, I kind of like this movie now. I kind of do. Alex would give us a 6 out of 10. I was going to give us a 4 out of 10, but man, I went a long distance on this one. What would you give this?
I guess maybe a 7.
Wow!
Or a 6.5.
You can go 7. Don't be.
I don't know.
Sometimes I feel like when you give it a score and I give you like a big reaction, you're like, oh shit, I gotta back off on that. It's like, nah, feel your emotions here. 7 out of 10. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like, it was silly, but it was like a silly fun movie, kind of.
Okay, I did not think that you enjoyed it that much. That's cool.
But, like, once again, I felt like this sort of, like, starts to establish, like, Freddy's humor a bit, like the wackiness in the future.
That's so interesting. Maybe I do need to go back and rewatch the first one, because, yeah, it might just be totally nostalgia talking. I'm so glad that you did go back and watch the first one, because, yeah, I really looked at this one just thinking, like, this is not the Freddy that we had in the first film. It's not the Freddy we got after these films. That's one of the reasons it felt like a fan film to me, is that it didn't even feel, it felt like people who knew the character and liked the character, but they couldn't write the character to me. But now that you're saying this, I mean, you're kind of the expert on this because you actually studied this thing recently. So, like, all right, shoot, I guess I was wrong on this one. All right. But yeah, so we actually shockingly liked this film, and I didn't expect that. even up until 15 minutes ago when we were still talking in this review, I didn't think we were going to like this film as much, but I guess we did. All right. Wow, that's the only kind of review that you can get on the post Shriek Out reactions. This is like the second time this month that we've had one of those things where it's like, I didn't like this. Talk about it for a little bit. I guess I kind of like this. All right.
Are we going to go into spoilers or nah?
There's not really a lot to spoil on this thing. It's, we already talked about how Freddy comes to life through this kid's body, and then he's defeated with the power of love.
Yeah.
I will say, I do kind of hate this ending because the ending, like, not the he's defeated with the power of love thing, which is weird. I'll say that.
I kind of liked how silly it was, I have to be honest.
Fair enough. But I hate the ending.
Yeah.
Because it's literally the same thing from the first film. Mm-hmm. Which is weird because we were talking about Friday the 13th Part 2 recently, and I said one big problem I had with that was that literally the ending, not the ending, but the ending is literally the ending from the first Friday the 13th film. So yeah, wow, man, these two film franchises overlap like crazy.
No wonder there was a crossover.
Also, another coincidence they have, it's not really until the third film that both these characters really become the characters that we all know and love. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until Dream Warriors and Friday the 13th Part 3 that I was like, okay, that's Jason, that's Freddy, bam, done. Man, all right, we have gone on a journey here, my friends. But thank you guys for tuning in. Remember to come back all week long because we are doing more sequel films. And then next week, we will have a brand new theme week. So stay tuned and happy Halloween.
Bye.